These pictures come
So,
from my personal collection. I saw a History Channel Giant special in 2000, and I
Yeah, I saw
was
that.
crazy about it. So these pictures are hard to find. Google like buries credible information now.
Yep. Yes, they do.
yep, an article from the New York Times, March 5th, 1894.
Now, let's be honest here. There are articles like this starting in like the 1700s up until 1950. Um, I watched the documentary where they actually had 130 articles over that span of time about finding skulls that you could put like 2 or 3 human skulls in, jawbones with 2 rows of teeth, femurs that if you were to put them in an actual human, people would be anywhere between 10 and 16 feet tall. So this has been going on for a while. All right, what's the next? And here we go. Here's the Minoan axes. All right, now, back in the day, now this is just my opinion, making a weapon of this size and not use it is a huge waste of resources.
You
Back
could have
then,
made 50.
yeah, iron was incredibly hard to source, smelt, and use. And I find it hard to believe they would be building weapons of this size for display only. And you could find weapons of this size in Japan, in India, China. You can find them you can see them in museums. And they didn't make them that big just to look at. In my opinion, something was using said weapons in a very unsavory manner. All right, here we go. Now, this is an actual bone here. Look at that shit. So, Walker, how tall would that particular person have to be with a femur of that length?
I the print I think was about 15
15,
plus
16
feet.
feet tall. Yeah.
If you assume that guy is 5 to 6 feet,
Mm-hmm.
the bone is 90% of his height.
So, yeah, he'd be 15 to 16. That bone would have to fit in somebody who's
If not
15
20.
to 16 feet tall, if not 20. Yeah, you're correct. All right. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the human genome as it stands now is not going to allow you to grow to 15 feet tall. I'm sorry. And this one here, I've actually watched the documentary on this. They think this is like millions of years old.
Yeah, that's a fossilized footprint in South Africa
Yep.
where they have gold mines 350,000 years old.
Yep. I've actually I've covered that. You're talking the circles. Is it the circles they had on the ground that actually generate their own heat and energy? That's
Well, I'm sure they do. That pressure is also heat, and if it goes that deeply, you're talking a whole different environment. You probably couldn't even survive it.
no, you're correct. And if you go back to the Babylonian texts, which are in baked clay tablets, there's millions of them. They've found them. They haven't even translated them all. But they talk about individuals coming from above to below who were of magnificent stature, led to what is the name of the name escapes me. The men of renown. What is the word that they used to use?
The Nephilim. The
Nephilim. Yeah,
Nephilim.
it's mentioned in the Bible. They're mentioned in some of the books that were left out of the Bible, like the Book of Enoch and what have you. I believe they are talked to briefly or alluded to in Genesis as the others, because they talked about individuals in the Garden of Eden, and a couple of guys got evicted from there for being asshats. and they made reference to other individuals outside of. So what I'm
Actually,
trying
the
to say here,
Ethiopian Bible
yeah,
predates our Bible,
correct.
and it has all that in there.
And also, like the Old Testament, a lot of the stuff that's in there, you can find it in the Babylonian texts that go back 6, 8, 10,000 plus years. There's nothing new under the sun. Plagiarism is a thing. It is what it is. Just going to put it out there. All right, that's a finger bone. Now, just imagine that bone is that little bottom part of your thumb, which mine is roughly 1.5 inches long. That one is 4 to 5 inches long. Now, you just take a hand, multiply it by 5. It's this big, meaning the skull of that individual is, we're talking this is a 12-footer to 15-foot person with bones of this size. All right, now let's be clear. Since the 1700s-ish, they've dug up bones all across America. And said bones at some point were given to the Smithsonian, and they disappear. Now, is this if it was a onesie twosie thing, I might be on the side of it's just a fucking rumor. Hundreds upon hundreds of stories from all hundreds of different sources, all saying the same thing. Something is going on. I don't know what that is. I have a feeling it's along the lines of the individuals who are trying to tell you or tried to tell you in the past that you were crazy if you acknowledged a UFO. They told you were crazy if you had an abduction story. It's the same. It's the same thing. They want to maintain order. They want to make sure you believe a small core belief of things to make the world and the universe as simple as possible to the average person. You cannot have bones like this laying around or on display in museums because people will ask questions. And when people ask questions, they start looking for answers. And whole paradigms, ideas, whatever you want to call it, come crumbling down. They don't want that because they want to maintain control. And I would also put this out there. Do I think in the 17 and 1800s the federal government at that time had anything to do with this? I would have to say no. What I do think would happen, because this country used to be deeply, deeply Christian when it was formed up until about, I would say, 1900, the Vatican probably had a hand in these cover-ups. And I would love to see all of the shit that's in their archives, because I can almost guarantee you there's some fucking crazy-ass bones, artifacts that should not exist but do. But that's a different show. So I'm just putting that out there. All right, now explain this one.
This is an actual, sometimes they will put good things in museums. And this is a bona fide skull that came off a 12-foot male. And it has horns, which is also in the description of the Nephilim.
Sorry, I've tried to zoom in on it there a little bit, but it's not wanting to.
It's a small picture. I got you.
Sorry about that, guys.
That's from somebody who's 12 feet tall.
That's right.
That's fucking. And there are instances.
With horns.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with the horns. There are human beings out there who, for whatever fucking reason, grow fucking horns. It does fucking happen. You can go online and there's videos of people having them surgically fucking removed. Again, evil hairless monkeys, probably shagging everything that could shag. Things happen. What are you going to do? All right, explain this one.
And it's also like older statues in the Vatican. I'm assuming this is Moses, but in Old Testament figures, they had horns on the statues, and they were later removed, from what I understand, because it encouraged too much question, like why, what is that? And
Also,
especially your Gothic churches,
well, let's just
like
face
that
it.
lead back to the Templars.
When you see horns on someone's head, you automatically go to the demonic. You can't have the Vatican having individuals that look all demonic, supposedly as stand-up Christian good people. I mean, I have a feeling that's why you don't see that anymore. That's fucking weird, man. All right, next, Jimmy, let's go to the different websites that I gave you the texts for. Let's pull some of these up and talk about them.
All right, bring these ones up. We'll just go right down the row here.
Again, we're trying to build credibility here and tell you exactly what's going on. Now, this is the the giants from Patagonia, I believe. Yeah.
Let's see here. In a nutshell, the age of exploration resulted in numerous misconceptions and wild fantasies about the New World being spread as far as fact throughout Europe. According to the diaries, journals, and writings of Ferdinand Magellan and his crew, the Pacific coast of South America was populated by a tribe of giants called the Patagonians. These giants were so tall the Europeans were only waist high to them, and two were even captured to be brought back to to show all of Europe.
Stop right there. All right. So these things were like 10 to 12 feet tall. If you can stack two people back then, because the average height back then was between 5'3" and 5'6", that's a 10-foot tall individual. They talk about this in many different diaries, journals, from even as low down as, lieutenants and captains who were there wrote in their own journals they saw this shit. All right, so you literally had an age of exploration, thousands of individuals writing in journals, diaries, what have you, that they encountered these things. And today we're like, oh, the minute you talk about it, people start doing this. They think you're fucking crazy. But if you look at the historic documents, it fucking happened. All right, keep going.
Yep, they continue here. Next, Sir Francis Drake got in on the story. In his nephew's published account on their journeys, he told the encounter of the massive giants, but he estimated their height closer to 2.2 meters or 7.5 feet instead of 3 meters or 10 feet. Probably in an attempt to discredit earlier accounts. He tells how many wary and untrusting the giants became after Magellan's crew's treatment of them, and attempted abduction and painting a very clear picture of the Spanish expedition ruining a people that had previously been kind and amiable. And instead, entirely discrediting Magellan, they gave the myth a boost.
Mm-hmm. So basically, we fucked it up. We went there, we lied to them, we stole from them, we kidnapped a few of them. And the two that they said they were taken in the beginning, they died on the ship on their way back across the ocean. Come on. We're dicks.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Another voyage, this time commanded by John Byron of the British Royal Navy in the mid-1700s, seemed to confirm the tales. A conveniently anonymous book published 2 years after the ship's return told more stories about the giants. And this account included illustrations lending more and more evidence to its claim, so much so that it seemed to be overlooked that there was no named author, and much less a named author that could be confirmed to have been on the HMS Dolphin for the voyage. The book succeeded in not only selling well, but increasing interest in the myth across Europe.
All right, cool. All right, let's hit the next one.
This one here. This one is on ancient origins.
All right, now, this, if you look at that, go up to that picture. All right, So this is actually the bones that were recovered. When you look at this, if you go to this article, it'll tell you it goes up to what, is it 18 feet?
Let me zoom in a little bit. Number 10, Serpent Mound, Ohio, is 7 feet.
Uh-huh.
Crisp Mound, West Virginia, is 7.2. Iowa Mound's 7.6. Steelville, Missouri, 8 foot.
Uh-huh.
Miamisburg, Ohio, 8.5. San Diego, California, is 8'4". Catalina Island, California, was 9'2".
I've actually been on Catalina Island, yeah.
Catalina wine mixer. Beaver Lake, Ozarks, Arkansas, is 10 foot. Lompoc Ranchero, California, is 12 foot. And West Hickory, Pennsylvania, 18 feet.
All right. So the minute you get over 8 feet, there's something going on. We have giantism. It is what it is. People can grow to those heights, but not beyond 8 feet. Something's going on. Now, this particular map he's showing you right now is all of the locations where they found giant bones, but somehow you cannot see them in any fucking museums.
Yep. They say over 1,000 counts of 7 foot and taller skeletons have been reportedly unearthed from ancient burial sites over a 200-year period in North America. Newspaper accounts, towns and county histories, letters, scientific journals, diaries, photos, and Smithsonian anthology reports have carefully documented this. These skeletons have been reported from coast to coast with strange anatomic anomalies such as double rows of teeth, jawbones so large as able to fit over the face of the finder, and elongated skulls documented in virtually every state.
Yeah, listen, if it was one or two, or I would even give you a couple dozen. I'd be like, thousands!
Yep.
What the fuck? This is insane.
And a lot of them focused on, the central.
Well, if you look at Michigan,
coast.
all right,
we
have old copper mines in the UP and in northern Michigan that are dated beyond 10,000 years back. Some of the newer ones, 8,000 and beyond. What the fuck was going on back then? They were mining copper. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yep. Smithsonian scientists identified at least 17 skeletons that stood over 7 feet in their annual reports, including one example that was 8 feet tall, a skull with a 36-inch circumference reported from Anna, Illinois. The Smithsonian annual reports of 1873. An average human skull is about 20 inches for reference.
I was just going to say that's one hell of a mama wrecker.
Did they measure Blake's head?
Well, Blake is that motherfucker. I don't know how he showed up here. He must have been C-section because that's one hell of a mama wrecker right there. I'm just saying.
Smithsonian Institution is mentioned dozens more times as the report of enormous skeletons from across the entire United States.
But if you go and ask them about these things, they say they don't exist.
Yep. And here we got pictures of a bunch of newspaper clippings from back in the day.
Uh-huh.
And here's a picture from, I believe, looks like 1919, I'm guessing.
All right.
Big ass mama wrecker there. But here's the top 10 giants here where they were found. So this one was Serpent Mound, Ohio, 1890s, 7 foot tall skeleton. Looks like it was in some kind of mine, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Serpent Mound is a 1,370 foot long prehistoric effigy mound located near Peebles that has been thoroughly researched by Ross Hamilton, who has written extensively about its mysteries and the giant discovered in the area. Recent radiocarbon analysis dates it to be around 321 BC. This puts it in the realm of the Adenia civilization, who were present in the area at the time.
Okay, keep going.
Right,
wow.
so, yeah.
Look at that shit.
Apparently, that's what it was.
Wow.
So you got the Cresat Mound, West Virginia, 1952 or 1959. 1959, Dr. Donald Dragoo, the curator for the section of man at the Carnegie Museum, unearthed a 7'2" skeleton in the complex excavation of the Cresat Mound in northern West Virginia.
All right.
He's quoted, the individual was of large proportions. When measured in the tomb, his length was approximately 7.04 feet. All of the long bones were heavy.
Okay.
Interesting.
All right. We don't have to go through all of them. Just read the 1897 7'6" skeleton. Keep going down.
Yep. And then Steelville, Missouri, 1933, 8 feet.
All right. Keep going.
8 feet. There's a picture of a comparison.
Wow.
Miamisburg, Montgomery County, Ohio, 8 feet, 1.5 inches.
Wow. Okay.
A drawing of it. A San Diego giant. Oh, this one's a mummy.
Yeah. And you can't find it, just disappeared. Go figure. Can you imagine what we could do now if we actually could find these bones and do a DNA analysis on them? That would be fucking mind-blowing. 9'2".
Out of Catalina Island. Yep. There's a record, and there he is, all bundled up and whatnot. Right. Beaver Lake, Ozarks.
10 feet. Nearly 10 feet. All right, now let's just get this straight. Only in the past 50 years have we been able to consume on a daily basis enough calories to be the equivalent of a meal for a king. And our average height has gone up because of it. I would say our height has gone up basically from the late 1700s to now. The average height has gone up, 4 or 5 inches. How the hell are normal human beings growing to 7, 8, 9 feet plus tall back in the day before we can actually, eat the kind of food to sustain that kind of size? In my opinion, this is a genetic component, if not a different race.
Yep. Sorry about that, Go Billy. I just jumped into the StreamYard there to bring you back on there. Sorry about that.
All right.
And then
12 feet.
12 feet. And then West Hickory, Pennsylvania, 1870. 18 feet.
What the fuck? How do you explain 18 feet? How do you explain it? You can't. That's why they're hiding the bones from us. All right. Move on to the next one. We're not going to play the video. But you can find this online. You can do your own research. This is insane.
Yep. And this one goes over to ancientcode.com. 6 amazing pieces of evidence.
Yeah.
But yeah, they'll cover the same stuff. There's the mummy. Another big ass one here.
All right. There's the Book of Giants right there.
Yep.
I believe they found that. Read the description underneath that one.
Discovered more than half a decade ago, the so-called Book of Giants is considered one of the most fascinating yet controversial discoveries ever made on Earth.
I'm going to have to research that.
Discovered together with thousands of ancient scrolls, the Book of Giants describes the demise of the ancient Nephilim. The ancient manuscript speaks of the creatures that inhabited our planet in the distant past and how they were destroyed.
I need to research that. That actually is pretty interesting.
Yep.
There's the Nephilim in the Bible.
Yep.
Gog.
Genesis. And then Keenamenzen giants.
Yeah, this is, I believe, in Southern Americas where the Indians actually ganged up and killed these things because they were hunting normal humans and eating them. They were treating this like prey.
We'll get newspaper reports detailing discovery of giant humanoid fossils. Countless newspapers reports dating back more than 100 years detail discovery of massive bones. What many people have believed to have belonged to real giants.
All right, let's go down to that thumb thing right there. All right, now This is still floating around out there because apparently this guy showed it to a scientist or an archaeologist, said he would come back and they would do tests on it, and he never came back. So this is still floating around out there. I hope they find it because you can do DNA off that because that's flesh.
Yep. That was a picture taken in 1988.
Mm-hmm.
So not too long ago.
Not too long ago.
Yep. The Coptois, a two-headed giant,
Wow.
said to have originally been captured by the Spanish sailors in the 1600s. Giant being called Coptois was two-headed, 3.5 meters tall, and humanoid that is believed to have lived on Earth hundreds of years ago.
All right, let's move on to the next one. Listen, the information's out there. All right, now this one here, the Conquistador encounter with giants. If you go back and read a lot of the historic examples, this is where you have lieutenants, captains, commanders, other individuals who write about this entire conquest that took place. And I believe this took place in Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana area. There was a huge battle where the conquistadors were held at bay by a giant, basically the son of one of the chiefs, who was they say he was between 9 and 11 feet tall. Who knows? But he fought them to a standstill for so long that they had to barricade and surround the village, the city that they're in, and starve them to death. That plus smallpox and all the other horseshit brought them to their knees. But they had guns. They weren't really good, but they had guns. Maybe they shot some of these things and it didn't work. I don't know. You have to read the descriptions. It is incredibly, it's so fascinating. And I hope the people that watch this show do some research on this, ask some goddamn question, because this is insane.
Yep. Now we'll be sure to update the website and have these all these articles that we're covering and whatnot going through, glancing at. Make sure that they are all in there. We'll move to the next one. This one basically continues the Conquistador story.
Yeah, but this one, if you go down a little bit more. All right, it actually talks about what happened. See, in 1539, this is a DeSoto. If you read this description here, it tells you about the battle that took place. This was a common occurrence back then. You don't see thousands of examples, hundreds of news stories. There were hundreds of guys down there, basically committing genocide and wiping out the Indian population back then. And they were coming across these things on the regular and engaging them in battle.
Yep.
We need to know about these things. Now, am I upset that all the giants, in my opinion, are dead? Yeah. I would love to see that shit. It would be interesting. But we are evil hairless monkeys. We love to kill each other on the regular. And if there was another race on this planet, we'd probably wipe them the fuck out, because let's face it, we replicate like bunnies when there's enough resources and the conditions are right. And we just won out because we have way more numbers than them. Am I going to be able to fight a beast that's 18 feet tall? Fuck no. Not without a tank. Not going to happen. Hell, if I come across a dude who's 7 feet tall, I'm a running motherfucker. I don't have a choice. I can't fight a guy who's 7 feet tall. Just physics alone is brutal.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Popp for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the meat caser box.